Hello, and welcome to the Miniboat Inspiration launch preview. I am Andrea Gingras, Assistant Director for the University of Rhode Island's Graduate School of Oceanography. I'm here in Narragansett, Rhode Island, where it's rainy today. Before we get started, let me know where you all are tuning in from. Go ahead and drop your city and state into the Facebook comments and the YouTube chat. And don't forget to follow GSO on all of our social accounts. I also want to take a second to thank Devereux Ocean Foundation for their support with this program, as well as the overall GSO Miniboat program. Thank you very much. For today's event, we're going to be talking all things Miniboat, learning about miniboats in general, specifically the GSO Miniboat program, and of course, getting excited for the newest miniboat in the fleet, the Inspiration. So I wasn't keeping count, but I certainly said miniboat a bunch of times. Let's use that chat feature again and comments feature again and share what you think a miniboat is. And if you have experiences with the miniboat, share those with us. All right, so I'm not going to be doing this program alone. I have some great guests here with me to share their information as well. So let's go ahead and bring them up for introductions. All right. We have a couple more. Do you want to throw everybody up, please? Thanks. All right. So let's go ahead and start with introductions. Cassie, why don't you start?
Hi, everyone. Cassie Stymus, the Executive Director of Educational Passages.
Thanks, Cassie. Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Murray, and I'm an engineering teacher at Central Falls High School.
Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Alex, and I'm a third grade teacher at Veterans Elementary School in Central Falls, Rhode Island.
And last but not least, Allie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allie. I am a fourth-year PhD student in physical oceanography at the Graduate School of Oceanography.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today to talk mini boats. I'm really excited to get our conversation started. Don't forget, this is an interactive program, and we want to hear from you who's watching us live. Ask your questions in the chat or comments, and we'll get to as many as we can throughout the program. So I have a question for a couple of our guests here. The first question, before we started this program, Kim, what did you think a mini boat was? So we asked our audience, and as they're thinking about sharing their answers, I wanted to ask you, before you were part of this program, you heard the word mini boat. What did that mean to you?
Well, the first thing that came into my mind was a boat maybe about a foot long with a few pieces of electronics in it to show what was happening in the ocean, but I didn't really have any specific ideas about it.
Yeah. Allie, I know that you, this probably was the first time you heard about it. What did you think when you heard the word mini boat?
Well, as an oceanographer, we think a lot about different ways that we can sample the ocean. And so there's lots of these instruments that are called Argo floats, and they're small, and we deploy them all over the ocean to profile the ocean, the temperature and salinity of the ocean. So like from the top of the ocean down to usually 1,000 meters. So when I thought about mini boats, I thought about a whole bunch of small boats like this big that we could throw out in the ocean that might measure the same things that we're going to measure: surface temperature, air temperature, things like that. But like a whole bunch of them and really small, so that we could deploy them all over the ocean.
Awesome. Yeah. So we do have a couple of responses from those that are watching live. Thank you for those. So if we want to throw that up. So Sheila Adams, she's super familiar with the mini boats, and she noticed that when the mini boat is upside down, it looks like a space shuttle. Never even thought about that. So lots of science connections with mini boats, and we're totally going to learn about those throughout our program today. So thanks. Continue to comment about what you think a mini boat is and share your experiences with them. So I do want to find out what a mini boat actually is. So I'm going to ask that of Cassie. Cassie, tell us about a mini boat.
So I guess mini in terms of the size of the world, but not mini like this. Mini boats is a term that started with educational passages over a decade ago. And they're 5-foot-long miniature sailboats, and it's an educational and science tool.
Awesome. And so the GSO mini program started just this past summer. We partnered up with Educational Passages, and also with the Central Falls School District. So Central Falls is a city here in Rhode Island. And we reached out to their administration to see if they'd be interested in doing this hands-on program to build a boat and to also learn about different ocean topics. Rhode Island is the ocean state, so we want to make sure that all of our students and citizens here are part and learn about ocean science as best as they can. So we started with a small group of elementary students over the summer, and we worked with them, and Allie was an integral part of that program, helping us to build the boat, all while talking about different ocean topics through hands-on activities with those students. And so that first boat the summer program spilled over into the academic year. And that's when Allison Murray had jumped in, and her students put their hands on the boat to help build and install the sensors. And I wanted to ask Allison about her experience with the mini boats and what that meant to your students, and how did you engage your students in the mini boat program?
So I teach engineering, and some of my engineering students had an opportunity to actually install the sensor package on the first mini boat. And it was very exciting for me because it kind of took it outside of the classroom to the point where they were doing something that was much more real, both in terms of the engineering, like actually installing and learning about the electronics, and also we're starting to talk a lot about data and data collection. And so this was an awesome example of a data collection tool. And then I actually got to help launch it. So that was an awesome experience for me.
Allison, tell us a little bit more about launching the mini boat. When did that happen, and how were you involved in that?
So it was the first weekend this past October. And I got to go out on the URI research vessel, the Endeavor, and we went 100 miles off the coast. We went on a 3-day cruise, and we deployed the mini boat Square Mile. There it is, at the edge of the continental shelf. So it was right where the really deep ocean starts. So that was really exciting. And as you can see, we had beautiful weather. And there goes the Square Mile. That was the launch.
This might be a good opportunity to show us what kind of sensors did you add to it, Allison?
Okay, there's a GPS, and then there's 2 temperature sensors, one that is on the top hatch that measures the air temperature, one that is all the way down the keel, so it's about a foot underwater, that measures the water temperature. There's also, we have latitude, longitude, speed, direction, and whether the mini boat is listing to one side or not, the angle.
Awesome.
So the Square Mile, like Allison had mentioned, was launched off of the research vessel Endeavor back in October. So we have about 6 months of its journey that we're capturing here. And I thought maybe Cassie, as a person behind the scenes with Educational Passages, tell us how you keep track of all of the boats, and how are we able to see and to follow the boats that are at sea?
Yeah, because of the GPS tracker on it, it's telling us where it is as it's drifting with the currents and sailing with the wind. And we put those tracks all up online, so every boat has their own web page. And this sensor pack is giving us another kind of insight into how these boats are traveling. So we've launched about 164 mini boats to date. And this one, as you can see on the track that just showed up on the screen there, this one took a different turn. Normally, we drop these into the Gulf Stream and they head over to Europe and around the Atlantic. And this one took a different path. I don't know, maybe Allie, can you provide some insight as to why it might have taken that direction? And do you think Inspiration is going to do the same?
Yeah. So I maybe don't have a good answer for why it went south instead of across the Atlantic. It did sort of end up back on the shelf there, and different things can happen there. But the prevailing winds that are in our area, anywhere north of about 30 degrees north, those are going to be the westerlies. And so winds are named by where they come from. Sorry, it's confusing because it's opposite for currents. So those winds will be coming from the west and going across the Atlantic towards the east. And so the reason that the mini boat in this location, where I think you could see in that figure that it sort of starts heading across the Atlantic near like Virginia area, I believe. So that's like 35 degrees west. So it makes sense that it would have gotten trapped in the westerlies at that point and then started heading across the Atlantic. But they're also going to be affected by the Gulf Stream, like you mentioned, Cassie. And so there's lots of loop-de-loops that it takes, which could be small eddies that are shedding off of the Gulf Stream. And eddies are just sort of circular rotating bodies of water that sort of shed off the really strong currents of the Gulf Stream.
Thank you, Allie. That's awesome. And we're very excited for the Inspiration to be launched to see where it is going to wind up. So the square mile is currently, like you saw that in that graphic, is moving across the Atlantic. It's getting pretty close to the Azores. So we're getting excited that it will maybe land soon. I want to take a moment. We do have a question if we want to bring that up, and we can all help to answer that. So Amy Smith wants to know what inspired the mini boat program. So I think this actually is a question that we all can kind of answer in some sort of way. And I can start on behalf of the GSO mini boat program. We are coming from the public engagement office. We are very interested in engaging the K through 12 community in hands-on experiences so that they're able to learn about the ocean. And this seemed like a perfect match with educational passages and partnering with them to really use the mini boat build to do that. And our ultimate goal is to inspire students to become scientists in the STEM field, future oceanographers. And having this experience is something that I believe, and through comments throughout our program and working with the students, really give those students a taste of inspiration. And not to use the word of our new boat or the name of our new boat, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Cassie, what do you think inspires a mini boat program? Why do people come to you to take part in the program?
I think you said it, and the word inspiration, it just happens to be a perfect fit for this. The program started over a decade ago to do exactly that. Let's send a boat out to sea with students' messages, students' thoughts, hopes, dreams, and see what happens. And let's learn about the ocean and how we're all connected to it as we do that.
Awesome. Allison, from a high school teacher standpoint, what inspired you, or what made you want to be part of the mini boat program? What did you think would be helpful for your students and for yourself?
I just thought it was a really exciting opportunity for my students to do some ocean science. You know, we are the ocean state, and we got to do a little bit of oceanography.
Yeah. And again, I know you kind of touched upon this, Kim, but, you know, as a third grade teacher, you have young minds there that, you know, we're hoping will work their way through the and become oceanographers potentially. But what is it that really made you want to be part of it for your students?
After so much distance learning and time out of the classroom, the children were forgetting what it was like to get excited about learning. And I contacted Peter and Andrea. Well, I contacted URI. They put me in touch with Peter and Andrea, who have been fabulous, and were very willing to bring us into this program. We started learning about ocean layers. And Andrea had this great little thing where I got some styrofoam cups. She had us decorate them, and they're bringing them to shrink them through the ocean pressure, which is ocean layers that we had studied. I showed the kids sailboat videos so that they'd understand the different boat parts. For when they were building the mini boat, we read ocean books. Our second quarter unit of study is weather, and our fourth quarter unit of study is marine life. And I just thought, what a great way to get the kids excited and feel like they had a deeper understanding, pun intended, for what takes place in the ocean. So, you know, I just wanted to, they loved doing the meet the crew, explaining things about themselves, these little forms that they filled out. They loved doing deck designs, which they included onto the boat. They were thrilled with getting to decorate the sails. And I cannot thank enough everybody who helped with this, all the URI staff, personnel, the students, the grad students who were there, and the other Central Falls teachers. I mean, Allison, you've been amazing. And Catherine, so I am very, very appreciative of all the help and support that people have given to get these kids excited about learning again.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a great program. It looks as though it touches upon a lot of topics and opportunities that you're already in your doing in your classroom. So I'm glad that we were able to make that connection with you. So we didn't really talk too much yet about the Miniboat Inspiration, and that is the main program that Kim was a part of with her students, her third grade students. And for that program, we actually took an all hands on deck approach. And we brought that into the classroom in 2 elementary schools in Central Falls, the middle school, as well as the high school. So this became almost like a district-wide opportunity for the students and the community of Central Falls to really have a boat that represents their students, their city, the state. And we did that again through hands-on opportunities with all the students, as well as the boat build itself. And so the name Inspiration for this mini boat comes from the tagline of Central Falls, which is diversity that inspires. So we hope that the Inspiration becomes just that, a boat that is being launched just this weekend, which we'll get to that information in a second, and really inspires students both in Central Falls and all around the world. And so I know that Kim needs to get back to her students. So I do want to mention that she will be out on the research vessel Endeavor this weekend is when we will be launching the Inspiration off the coast or near the shelf break once again. So she will be hands-on with the boat, putting it overside like you saw in that video. And at that point, we can start tracking and learning more about its path. So before you have to leave us, Kim, tell us how you're feeling right now about to get on the Endeavor to do this.
I am so excited. I'm an old girl and I love Jacques Cousteau, the French oceanographer, when I was a kid, and wanted to be an oceanographer until my mother enrolled me in an oceanography class when I was in high school at the community college. And I realized all the advanced mathematics was not my thing. Therefore, I always also wanted to be a teacher, but this is a dream come true for me. And to be able to bring this excitement to my children, I'm thrilled. They're so excited. They couldn't wait to start looking at everything and seeing what's happening. So I'm excited about live streaming. I'm excited about getting to show them what happened.
Yeah, and we are super excited to have you out on that cruise and can't wait to hear all about it and start tracking the Miniboat Inspiration. And so mini boats get a lot of attention. Just recently, bye Kim, thank you so much for your time. Just recently, the Miniboat Inspiration was here at the Graduate School of Oceanography when our Rhode Island governor came for a visit. So he was able to see it and understand it. And there we have, he even tweeted about it. And then we also had the URI president and our GSO dean stop by and actually sign the boat. So these types of experiences and opportunities really do bring in and create a community behind it. And I know, Cassie, you can speak to the media attention and the attention that these boats get. So tell us a little bit more about that and some of the most recent attention.
Yeah, I think so. There's inspiration, and the other word is hope. Technology sometimes fails, and sometimes the GPS units stop reporting. And one of those stories happened recently with a mini boat from Rye, New Hampshire, that was sent out back in 2020. And after 462 days and 4 months of silence, it showed up and sent one more location report from a small island in Norway. And this was absolutely incredible. There's Carell and he's a 6, got it to the school the next day, and the students got to meet over Zoom and see all of the things inside the cargo space. And so this is another part of the mini boat program that we hope gets to happen after the journey, is when it lands on the other side. And talk about sense of community. Each person that puts their hand on these mini boats as the story develops, it's just even more exciting on the other end. can't wait to see where Square Mile and Inspiration end up too.
That's right. So again, we mentioned the word community, and I just want to check in with Allie. And, we had elementary students, we had middle school students and high school students, and you're a graduate student here. What did you see your role as part of the Miniboat program to be?
So I think I was there to help with the mini boat, help build the mini boat. I was also there to teach them a little bit about ocean currents and physical oceanography and what makes up the field, what we do, what we study. But I think the most important role that the graduate students play in helping with the mini boats program is to provide an example of what a scientist looks like, what an oceanographer looks like, but just sort of what a scientist looks like in general. When I was this age, I remember a scientist was like Albert Einstein. So I think showing up in this class and giving them an example of what you can do with your life, what profession you can go into, is really important to these students, and it makes such an impression on them. So I think, if anything, I hope that's what they got out of our visit.
Awesome. Thanks, Allie. Yes. And it was great having you in the classroom. And here you are doing some hands-on activities with the students in Central Falls. So that was really great to have you there. So we have, if you might have noticed, we have a special guest here. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and maybe he can speak to it as well, is tracking the boat. So we know that it has a GPS on it, and it really allows us to figure out and to take part in its journey. And I know that Allison in her classroom has a big map tracking it. And I'm going to pause there and let our special guest introduce himself. But I want to ask you, Paul, how you're tracking it. What are you doing to track it? And are you still involved in the program?
So, like you said, my name is Paul, and I'm a senior here at the Central Falls High School. And concerning your question, we once we installed the GPS, we were tracking it using the website for the Miniboat, right, Liz? Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm still involved in the program. I helped with our first boat, the Square Mile, and I helped assemble the second boat as well, Inspiration. And yeah, I help in both boats.
Awesome. And so, Paul, question for you. When we launched the Square Mile, and now when we're going to launch the Inspiration, what is your prediction of where the Inspiration is going to go? And did you have a prediction for the Square Mile? And give us an update if you did have a prediction. How far off were you? Or on point?
So, thinking for the Square Mile, me and my peers, we thought that it was going to head to Africa or maybe Portugal, the coast of Portugal. But looking at the distance and the route they was taking, it's stuck in between the Atlantic Ocean right now. And my prediction for the Inspiration now, I would believe it will take the same route and probably meet with it in the Atlantic Ocean, but hopefully it'll make it to the other side and probably make it to Europe or Africa. So
awesome. Yeah. So we did an activity with the students using this big map, and you might be able to get a peek of it behind us. But there it is. We have our students at Veterans Memorial making their predictions of where they think the mini boat might go. So my question for you all who's watching, if the Miniboat Inspiration is going to be launched off the Endeavor this weekend near the shelf break, where do you think it will go? So go ahead and throw that in the chat, in the comments, and let us know your predictions. And then, once it's launched, we're able to track, and you can go back and check your work and see how accurate it might have been. So I like to think that, looking at this, the zoomed out version looks a lot like spaghetti. Lots of loop-de-loops here. Just a little note, you see a pizza on that map. That's because it was right around lunchtime on a Friday, and I think they all had pizza on their mind. So we have pizza islands that some of these students think that the boat might wind up on. So fun little story. So there's my spaghetti map that I like to refer to. So if you have any ideas, let's throw them up on the screen. We have Catherine here Hi, Catherine. She thinks it's going to wind up in the UK. What else do we have? Anything else? Towards Portugal, similar to what the Square Mile is doing. So it's fun to think about having these boats kind of being launched from similar locations at different times of the year. So almost 6 months apart. So something to keep in mind as you make your predictions, what types of factors might come into play depending on seasonal times here. So I kept forgetting to prompt questions, so I'm sorry if we're missing any questions, but if you do have any questions for us, please continue to put those in the chat. I love seeing the comments that are popping up. But I just want to check in and see if Allie or Allison or Cassie have anything to add. We have maybe 1 or 2 minutes before we will end our time together. Anything to add? Any last minute comments before? Well, I do really appreciate, it's been great working with all of you on this program and continuing to do so through the GSO Mini Boat program. And so we have some next steps for those that are watching. And that would be that, like we mentioned, the Miniboat Inspiration will be launched off the research vessel Endeavor this weekend. And once it's launched, that's when we can start tracking. So your first action step would be to check out the Educational Passages website associated with the Miniboat Inspiration to continue to track and see where it goes and see if your prediction is on point and accurate. So the Miniboat Inspiration is going out on the Endeavor as part of a larger research cruise that's led by GSO faculty Melissa Omond. And during this cruise, she and 10 URI undergraduates will be taking part in sailing as part of her URI honors cruise. And and as part of that, a program called Endeavor Live will happen. So if you like taking part in these types of programs, interacting live and having your students learn more about the ocean, please do check out the Interspace Center website and search for Endeavor Live. And you'll get all the details on how you can do that through the weekend and into the early part of next week. The other thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to continue to follow the Square Mile, see where it's going. Maybe in the next couple of months it's going to land, and we could see where it lands and make the connection with that community as well. On social media, we try to do a hashtag Miniboat Monday. So be sure to look out for those, especially this week when we have the boat being launched. We'll certainly be making some posts about it so people can track and keep track of it. And one thing I want to mention about this boat is it has a camera. So our Square Mile boat did not have a camera. This one will have a camera. So weekly, as of now, we'll be getting pictures from it out to sea. And that will help us see the type of weather that's out there, the conditions that it's sailing in. Does it still have its sail? Is it upside down looking like those space shuttles, or is it upright? So really excited to share those images with you as they come in. And Cassie, I know that you have one more homework assignment or action item that people can follow along with.
Yeah, just another opportunity to get involved and build your own this time mini, right? Maybe a foot long sailboat out of recycled materials. And this is the third year of what we're calling the Recycle Regatta with some of our partners, Ness and Namepa. And entries are due March 31st. So there's one more week to give it a shot. There's a teacher toolkit available, and you can enter that competition as well.
Awesome. And so I want to mention that the mini boat is already on the research vessel Endeavor, and we actually have some footage of it, live footage of it in the main lab. So if we want to bring that up. So here we have our participants getting ready for this cruise. I think I see Melissa Oman there. And if we keep going, we see the mini boat, and it looks as though we have some people working on it, right? So we have, oh, awesome.
Looks like they're sealing it up.
That's right. So there she is, the Miniboat Inspiration, getting ready to go out to sea this weekend. So stay tuned for more details about that. Awesome. Okay. So I just want to close out here. Our time is just about up. I want to say thank you all for joining us live, for those that are watching and for those who might be watching the archive version. Thank you to our guests, to Allison, to Allie, Cassie, and to Kim. And most importantly, and also to thank you to the Devereux Ocean Foundation for their support with the GSO Mini program. I also want to thank the Interspace Center team for their behind-the-scenes support to make this live program happen. And don't forget to follow GSO Educational Passages and the Inner Space Center on all the social media accounts to continue to learn more about mini boats and about ocean science exploration. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll be in touch soon, and be sure to follow the mini boats.